Good stuff. Good stuff.
So we got a sad minute.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, not to spoil it, but this is probably my least favorite minute of the movie so far. I just love Max so much. I'm so bummed to see him go out.
Yeah, I know. What's going to happen to our Mac drops?
We'll keep him up, but I mean, it'll be somber Mac drops. It'll be like,
Mac. I think I saw. I was reading through your notes. I think I saw you wrote in there. This is my. Oh yeah, there it is. This is my least favorite.
Come attached to Mac.
Yeah. No, I remembered that he died soon, and then when you were like, "Let's record," and you're like, minute 62. I was like, "Oh shit! I think this is the one where Mac dies."
Yeah.
And then I watched it and I was like, no. And then I immediately had to go write a limerick.
Oh, you already wrote your limerick?
I wrote my limerick, yeah.
Welcome to Predator Minute, the podcast that breaks down the 1987 action sci-fi tragedy Predator 1 minute at a time. I'm John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And today we're bringing you, I'm so sad to say, minute 72 of Predator.
It's a sad minute, John.
It's a heavy minute.
Heavy minute. We, not to spoil anything too soon, but we've got some bad news to break to everybody in this minute.
Real bad news, especially for a character named Mac.
Mac. Yeah, we'll get into it, but Mac, he really does get to meet the Predator here officially.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, minute 72, you could call the. I went back to the sports references, just hoping I could find a Mac connection, and I did.
Oh.
So 72 in football has been worn by Too Tall Jones, of course, the effervescent player come broadcaster Dan Deerdorf.
Yes, Deerdorf.
Yeah. And, of course, the immortalized Mac Mitchell.
Mac.
Who the hell is Mac Mitchell?
Oh, I'm glad you asked who Mac Mitchell is, because I am right-clicking his name, saying Explore Mac Mitchell, and it tells me that Mac Mitchell is a former defensive end in the National Football League, mainly for the Cleveland Browns, who played in the 1970s.
Nice Mac connection.
Thanks. Yeah, just
wore number 72.
Or number 72. We really had to bring it back to Mac. Because this is really a Mac minute until it isn't it?
It is. Yeah, we get all Mac until we don't.
All right, so I'll open up minute 72. Minute 72 opens with Mac moving into flanking position, and it ends with Anna stumbling through the jungle.
All right, so should we get into it here?
We kind of have to.
Yeah. All right, so we'll break this minute into two parts, as we generally do. First part being about the first 40 seconds. We carry over. We've got Dylan. And Mac. They're making their way towards the Predator through the jungle. Mac is supposedly looking towards the Predator as he wades through the bushes. We cut to Dylan, also walking through the bushes. And we cut to Mac hitting the ground and then shimmying along on his back. And he paused when he sees the 3 red dots on his arm. We hear some Predator clicking. He looks up between the logs. The red dot moves from his arm area up to his forehead. And that's when it happens.
What happens?
Right in the notes, blammo. We get the laser sound blast. The camera switches to behind his head. And pretty great effect here, which we'll talk about. But his head explodes in a red, goopy mess. R.I.P. Mac. And to celebrate Mac, I have poured out a little glass of whiskey here. I can think of nothing better then a little taste of home.
Little taste of home.
Celebrate. Mac.
Yeah, so I'm glad you're enjoying your Mac Daniels.
It is delicious.
Daniels.
But yeah, not to spoil things, but I guess to spoil things, this so far has definitely been my least favorite minute to watch of Predator, just because I've become so attached to Mac over the course of the movie. I'm just so in love with his character and his mannerisms, and just how real he makes this character, or how real Bill Duke makes this character, and makes this character sympathetic. He is a character who has been suffering, in my opinion, some really long onset PTSD, as well as some really short-term PTSD, and just seeing his best friend die about a little bit less than half hour in movie time.
Yeah. I when we started this project, I did not anticipate Mac becoming one of my favorite characters, or really started to become sort of the centerpiece of our podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's really become one of our favorite people to talk about in this film, and everyone shouting his name has obviously become iconic and is really fun for us. So it is kind of sad to see the end of one of our favorite characters here. This one is hitting me a little bit more than, say, Blaine did or Hawkins. I'm very sad to see Mac go.
Yeah, and he just goes out a lot more quickly than I had remembered when I was just watching
abrupt,
this minute.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It is so abrupt. He's shimmying along, and for some reason in my mind, that laser is tracing along his arm and then his head for, I don't know, 30 seconds or something like that. But it's all of 10 seconds from when the laser appears to the blammo moment, and his head guacamole's all over the camera behind him.
Yeah, it happened more abruptly than I remembered. As we do this show, I've been trying to just watch 1 minute at a time and not watch ahead. I find I can kind of reflect on that minute a little bit easier and just try to focus on that 1 minute.
Sure.
And I knew this was coming up, of course, but when it happened, I was a bit surprised. There's not a lot of setup and fanfare to it, right? He's really just kind of moving through the jungle, and then it just happens. And it does feel very abrupt. But it's pretty great as far as like deaths go in terms of special effects. This is a pretty great one. I did like this. This is up there with Blaine's chest exploding.
Right, and the difference between Blaine's chest exploding is that happens off camera, where you see Blaine's head as his chest explodes, and then it shows you his body after it just happened, versus this is like showing you everything. You're seeing, the back of his head come apart. You're seeing the lead up to the death with the laser focusing in right on his head. There's no like cutaway to avoid like the most graphic part, like it does with Hawkins, where you don't see anything, but you see the aftermath. You see the blood go across and on his face, or like we said with Blaine, you don't see the wound until after it happens. You don't see the chest bursting right out. But up until this point, it's the most graphic of the deaths. We'll have to see if more graphic deaths happen, but for the purpose of this movie, it's just interesting that they chose to really have Mac so far have the most graphic of the deaths, which is interesting because, like I said before, he's probably the most sympathetic, I feel, to all the characters. He's the one who's had the most characterization and the best acting so far, with Bill Duke playing that part so well, and it's just a huge loss. It's hard for me to kind of think about other characters in other movies who I cared about so much, just like dying just like that. I mean, there's kind of a short list of all the movies I've seen where the character just goes out so violently, just so mercilessly.
Yeah, that's it. Just what you said, mercilessly, right? Just like you are killing a mouse that's in your house, or getting rid of some sort of rodent, right? A rat in the basement. Yeah, you're right. Like the combination of Bill Duke's performance with him starting to kind of lose his mind, he becomes very sympathetic. He's lost his best friend, and then just the abruptness and the violentness of his death is it's effective in that it's shocking and makes you feel for his character and makes you feel sad. So it works if that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
But this is, you're right. I guess this is the most violent death we've gotten so far, like that we could be able to see on camera with that exploding head right there. Yeah. Which is a very cool effect. I don't know if you watched the commentary for this section. Did he elaborate at all about the special effects here, or knowing McTiernan? He probably did.
John McCommentary just goes silent during this minute. He starts to talk about the rating system, about having to edit around things for an R rating and with the MPAA, but he doesn't go at all into the making of features here. And I couldn't find anything about how they made this effect happen. So I don't know, the way Mac's head is, I have to totally guess here, but the way Mac's head is shown from the back and it's frozen almost mannequin style before it explodes has me thinking that they just had something set up with a mannequin head and filled it full of, I don't know, some kind of goop and corn syrup and whatnot.
Yeah. When you watch it very slowly, like frame by frame, that's exactly what it looks like. Like, cause they've got some sort of mold. It looks like a human head. But it's kind of shiny, although Mac's head is shiny, but it looks shiny, like plastic shiny when you freeze it there. And then it just bursts and you get just that red goopy syrup. And so, it's like they put an M80 inside of a mannequin head or something.
Yeah.
It's pretty effective.
It's very effective. It's, I mean, just that graphicness, just that abrupt, like you were saying, just that abrupt extinguishing of his life. It's just really telling you the Predator is playing for keeps. The Predator is just collecting trophies, like Anna said, but is just going to go the cowardly way. He's going to cloak his way through killing these adversaries. He's not taking them on in some kind of fair fight. He's going to go invisible. But as much as I want to say going invisible, like Mac does see the laser sight, and I'm wondering why he's not doing something once he sees it. Is he just more, do you think, curious, like thinking something else is happening other than the Predator when he sees those 3 dots?
I took that to just mean he realized he had been gotten, right? You look over, there's going to be a moment there of shock where you just sort of freeze. You're not quite sure what to do. And then you probably have a split second of resignation where you're like, well, that's it. He got me. As soon as I try to move, he's going to pull that trigger. And that's kind of what I took away from that. Hey, I can't remember. Is this the first time we've seen the 3 dots, or did we get the 3 dots on Blaine?
This is definitely the first time we saw the 3 dots. And speaking of 3 dots, when I took, sounds unrelated at first, but I'll connect it here. But back in college, I took was the kind of class as not logic, philosophy class.
Oh, sure. I took one of those.
But it was like the philosophy, like the logic of philosophy kind of class, where
like symbolic logic.
Yes, the logic. So you'd use the little symbols. And do you remember this 3 dot symbol in logic class?
Oh yeah, it means therefore.
It means therefore. It means like you're about to make your hypothesis based on previous evidence. And so whenever I made those 3 dots, I would always think of the Predator's laser dots.
That's funny. That symbol is used just generally in mathematics as well, not just in symbolic logic. And so like at the end of a paragraph proof or a flowchart proof, you'll see that sometimes with you see that little 3 dots. Therefore, conclusion proven or whatever.
Right. So I guess you could say something like, Mac can't really see the Predator, and the Predator has a laser-mounted or a laser-guided shoulder cannon. Therefore, Mac's head is now Jello coming at the camera.
Yeah, that's cool. I never thought of that. I like that math connection. Very nice.
Yeah, you're the math teacher. You're the math guy. You like that stuff.
But this is the reason I bring that up is it's kind of the first appearance of sort of an iconic Predator thing, the 3 dot laser sight, right? Like it comes up several times here in the first film, but I feel like it's used quite extensively in Predator 2, the 3 dots, and I don't know about the Alien versus Predator movies. At the very least, we have to lose Mac, but we get the very first use of the iconic 3 dot laser sighting. there's that.
It's interesting. I mean, he must be using the. Do you think he's using the laser here at the same setting he killed Blaine, or maybe a little bit less? Because when he killed Blaine, I mean, that's a lot of man to take out right there. It's a lot of midsection to take out.
Yeah, and Blaine's death was like, I mean, it looked like there was like a bunch of blood packs in a leaf blower when they were shooting that out of him, right? Like that.
Yeah.
It was a big shot. So I almost feel like he dials it down here because he's got a close-up headshot and just enough to explode his cranium, and that's enough.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about the continuity, about what Dylan sees a couple minutes, actually next minute. We'll talk more about that, how that doesn't necessarily line up with what we just saw happen on camera, because it doesn't really line up later on. But we can talk more about continuity-wise what Mac's front of his head should be looking like by now. So we ended last minute talking about the music and the strings sounding very plucky, almost, I don't know, reminiscent of Peter and the Wolf with this
Yeah.
dum, 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 dum.
Peter and the Wolf guitar. Yep.
Yeah, just kind of, I don't know, kind of making your way through the jungle kind of sound, nothing really dangerous about that music. And that's what it carries over from the last minute here. And then all of a sudden, as that laser shows up on his arm and moves to his head, and then we see this great axiom cut, it's called, where it takes from the wider shot and zooms right to his face in the next cut.
Right.
The strings ramp right up and the horns ramp right up right before the Predator kills him with the headshot.
Yeah, and that's part of the abruptness, I think. The effectiveness of the score there, that plucky sound starts to, when you first hear that, it sounds cartoonish almost, like it lets you sit back in your chair a little bit, like, oh, Mac's just going for a little jaunt here through the jungle, do. And all of a sudden we get the laser sighting and the music shifts. And before you can even notice that the music has shifted, his head explodes. Like, it happens so quick. And so it does a good job of lulling you into just, I don't know, submission, but just you're just not expecting what's coming forward.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, poor Mac.
Oh, Mac. All right.
Well, as is tradition, I have a limerick here to celebrate Mac's life. Should we do it now or wait till the end of the minute? What do you think?
I think we do it now because it just happened. It's still fresh. I need a little bit of healing now. I need some words.
All right. Let's see what we got here. So,
Russell Papers, I love it.
Yeah. The first limerick was titled Hawkins.
There once was a nice guy on a choppa. He killed bad guys who lived in palapas. He made Billy croak with a vagina joke, but what's left of him now resembles lasagna.
The second one was titled Blaine.
He claimed to have no time to bleed, but this sexual tyrannosaurus had his chest blown into the forest, and now his shirt no longer says MTV.
Blaine.
This one is titled Mac.
Mac.
Mac. He shaved with a single blade bick. He sang to the heavens while killing a pig. His bald head glistens while the predator listens. Then his head erupts like a bloody oil rig.
Oh, that was descriptive and and sad. Thank you. Oh,
there it is. R.I.P. Mac.
Mac, build the statue. This is where the Mac Memorial Limerick shall live forever.
We'll put it on a plaque. A plaque!
Plaque!
A Mac plaque!
Mac plaque.
Oh, well, have we done Mac justice here? Should we move on to the last 20 seconds or so to get us primed for the next minute?
So, second part of the minute, we cut back to Dylan.
Dylan!
Dylan, who pauses. This is right after the laser blast takes out Mac's head.
Yeah.
Dylan pauses as if he heard something, some kind of echo of the laser blast. We don't know. He resumes walking through the bush. We cut back to Mac's head falling back, blood pouring back from the back of his head. We cut to what Mac must have seen, what raised his eyebrows before he died, looking upward between the logs at this mostly invisible predator, just stepping away. We see Mac's boots twitching as the predator steps away. And we cut in the last couple of seconds to Anna falling through the bush and making some kind of grunting sounds as the minute ends, giving us, hey, our first dialogue-free minute in a long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
So a couple good things here. The cutting back to Mac's head, just sort of like resting against this log, and all the blood slowly trickling off of his head and his shoulders is quite gruesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good effect because it's just sort of like his body lumps back onto this log, and I feel like after that explosion, his head should actually be more exploded here than it is.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a continuity error there, but it's sort of our one last final look at Mac as he hits his eternal resting spot.
There's
log.
There's blood all over his shoulders too.
All over, yeah. He's like soaked in it, and it's really just sort of like pouring, like dripping off of his head, like long strings of goo, like dripping from his head. It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, and then we see the predator just stepping off him, just like, you should feel real proud of yourself, you punk.
Yeah, like I said, it's just like he exterminated a rat in the basement. Like he just looks at it for a minute and then walks along. And
I mean, this
on to the next one.
If this doesn't make you just hate the predator, I don't know what can. Before it was kind of like this mild curiosity, this enemy you just couldn't see who was just super dangerous. But here he's just like, I don't know, the way he takes him out, just makes me so mad. And he just walks off. Yeah, they're really the series of deaths here from the rest of the team does a good job of just kind of building up, getting you on Arnold's side for the third act. Mm-hmm. I kind of forget about that. We just see this group of people systematically die one by one, and watching this minute by minute with you get real attached. And so when we first started this, I think at one point you asked me who my favorite character was, and I said the Predator, which is still kind of true because he's one of my favorite villains of any movie. Right.
But as the film goes along, you really start to dislike him for his just cruel and emotionless killing of this family of dudes that you've really gotten to know.
Right.
So by the time we get to the showdown with Arnold, I have a feeling I'll be 100% on Arnold's side here. Anything else from this last section here? We talked about the head exploding and dripping blood. We talked about the Predator standing there. His twitching boots is pretty unnerving.
Yeah, it's just adding insult to injury or to fatal injury, because it's like, we're just gonna just keep on him, just like his nerves are still twitching, as they're still firing. It just makes his death all the more gruesome for a character that I've been feeling such sympathy and affection for. It's like, he's really gonna suffer even past death. Like, come on, John McTiernan, of all the people, like he's the one I connected to.
Yeah, right. So we do have a couple other characters, and we get sort of reaction shots here from them. We get Dylan. He hears something. I assume he hears the explosion of the gun, or Mac's exploding head, or the laser hitting the ground after the head. It's enough to make him turn his head and stop what he's doing. Mm-hmm. So we get his reaction, and at the very end of the minute, we cut very quickly to is that Anna streaking through the jungle there? No, wait, who is that? Yeah, it
is Anna. I had to watch the beginning of the next minute just to confirm that. She's just, I think, leading the rest of the group away from what's happening here with Mac and Dylan and the Predator.
She's really cooking through the jungle here. Do you think she's heard the Predator's gun, or is this just how she goes through the jungle?
That's a good point, because earlier in the movie, that's how she's kind of. It seems very reminiscent of when she's being pushed around as a prisoner with the hands bound. How they're pushing her and she's falling down, and then at one point she throws leaves in Dylan's face much earlier in the movie.
Right.
When she's sandbagging it, according to Dylan.
Come on, sweetheart, stop sandbagging it. Now get up.
But here, I take it to be just she's kind of desperately trying to escape with Arnold and Billy and Panchitos. So it doesn't really, like, style matters not here. It's just keep moving towards the exit, towards the evacuation site.
Yeah, and she just like jumps down on her belly and slides down that little hill, and then kind of starts army crawling there.
But I don't think she heard the laser. Do you think she heard the laser?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think she's just moving with a purpose here because she knows the urgency of the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we discuss really quick at second 54 what that is? We see the Predator walk away. Clearly he's just walking. He's on top of the logs. He's moving away from where he just shot Mac in the head. We go to 54/minute 55, and you see the bottom of Mac's boots twitching, or his right boot twitching, and he's laying facing kind of at a decline away from the camera, and something above him is retracting. What in the world is it? Looks like something covered in like a dead fern. It almost looks like a gas mask. Is that like the camera? Maybe they just kind of left in frame on accident, and my guess is maybe they had something originally filmed that they cut out, like more gruesome from the front of his head.
The way I read this was that this was supposed to be just the previous shot is the Predator stepping away. And I just assumed that this was supposed to just show some continuity there of the Predator stepping away. And so we were just supposed to see some rustling leaves on the log as he moves off. Whatever they were using to try to create that effect, I think kind of...
They just left whatever device that is.
Frame, yeah, it just looks like... Yeah, I don't know. You're right. You can see it's not the cloaked Predator. It may be I want to say a foot or a hand, but I don't know if that's right either. But they're lowering or lifting something there in order to give the illusion that the leaves are moving. Right. But yeah, you're right. They really obviously leave this thing in the frame. It's kind of funny actually looking at it over.
Right. It couldn't be the Predator's leg. That would imply that the Predator's leg was
down
over Mac's head. Mac had to crawl right next to the Predator's leg, which is not what they're showing you when the Predator is walking off the logs.
Yeah, I think it might just be a little goof in the special effects work there. I don't know.
It's one of these things I don't really notice unless I'm watching this second by second.
All right, well, we've covered it. We forced ourselves to discuss Mac's demise.
I need to update
Mac.
We need to update the kill count because we are at 96.
It's been a while.
So there were 95 kills before this minute, one this minute.
96.
And we originally called the wild pig one of the bad guys, but then I think someone convinced us to move the wild pig into the good guy.
I think that was me.
Okay.
I was like, he's just a pig hanging out in the jungle doing pig things.
Yeah, in what way is he bad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Mac. All right. Well, kill count up to 96. We'll try to, instead of dwelling on the sadness, we'll try to celebrate Mac's life here, right?
Yes.
So here's to you, Mac. Thank you for bringing us 72 minutes of entertainment and joy. And till next time.
Till next time. Anytime. It is Mac time.
All right. Well, are we into weekly recommends? Is that what we're doing?
Yep, we're dipping into the weekly recommend section where we recommend different things to our audience.
All right. Well, I'll jump in if that's cool. And I'm going to recommend, I have often recommended things associated with this website and podcast, and I'm going to do the same thing again today.
Is it F this movie?
It is. Is that what you were going to do?
No, I know how much you love this movie.
Yeah. You know who introduced me to F this movie?
Was it Mac?
It was you.
Yay!
Yes. And F This Movie is a great little independent website and podcast, but the guy, Patrick Bromley, that runs it is very passionate about film, and he does lots of cool little things throughout the year to celebrate movies. And one of the ones that's really fun that he does is every March, he does what's called F This Movie Fest. And it's called an all-Twitter film festival. And the idea is that he programs a series of films to watch during the day, and they're all given time slots. And then everyone who participates watches all these movies at the same time from the comfort of their own home. And then everyone tweets about it, kind of live tweets the movie as you're watching it using the hashtag #FThisMovieFest. And it's really fun. And every year he chooses a lineup that celebrates a particular year in movies. And so this year he is celebrating movies of 1990. So this is right in my wheelhouse. Have you seen the lineup yet, John?
No, but I can kind of mosey my way over. He's in my
well, I'll go through them real quickly if you'll humor me here. Yeah. It starts at 10 a.m. Central Time. You can go to fthismovie.com and see all the specifics about time slots and stuff. But it starts at 10 a.m. Central Time with one of my favorite movies of all time. And what I consider to be the greatest PG-13 horror film ever made, and that is Tremors at 10 a.m. Followed by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one.
I could tell you like exactly my just lifetime experience around that movie, going to see it in the theater and like being raised on the Ninja Turtles, and like what an experience that was.
Oh yeah, that movie just hit me at the perfect time. We were both like 10, 11 years old then.
Yes.
Yeah, like absolutely perfect time. Followed by Dick Tracy, followed by Hard to Kill, starring Steven Seagal, which is a movie I know I watched several times as a young teenager, but have not seen in forever. So I'm excited to revisit that one. Followed by Darkman, the Sam Raimi kind of dark superhero movie. And then to cap things off at 8 p.m., we get Paul Verhoeven's Total Recall.
Come on, Cohagen, you got what you want. Give these people air.
Yes.
Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. So a pretty great lineup of 6 films. Go to fthismovie.com, check out the post about it, and if you're like me, you won't be able to participate all day long, but whenever I kind of get a chance, I'll flip the movie on, pull up my phone and Twitter, and just kind of follow along when I can. And it's really, really fun. So there's my recommend.
Awesome. And is your profile picture on Twitter still the graboids from Tremors?
It is, yeah. The t-shirt that I have, yeah.
That's good. Is that a shirt that you actually own?
Yeah, it looks like the Jurassic Park logo, but
yes,
instead of the dinosaur is a graboid, and then it says graboids.
That's great.
One of my favorites, yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that movie when I was little and being scared of it, and then watching it again when I was quite a bit older and just realizing just how campy goodness it was.
It's a perfect film. Like, it's such a perfectly crafted little horror movie that's funny and silly and has great practical creature effects. And it's pre-CGI, so they have to get creative in how they show these monsters, and it's just so good. I love it so much. So I'm excited to kick it off. I'm definitely be watching Tremors that morning and probably scarring my children while I do it.
Nice. It definitely has one of my favorite character actors in Fred Ward.
Oh yeah.
He was in Naked Gun 33 and a third, and he just has all the best lines in that movie. So he's just someone immortalized to me growing up watching him on that Naked Gun movie. So anytime he pops up, it's just a treat, a delight.
Keep flashing the big eyes, and I'll personally balance and rotate your jaw. Hey, you know who you talking to? The man is Rocco Dillon.
Dillon!
Where's your prison number?
It's unlisted.
Just call me Nick the Slasher McGurk.
Look, Hamhead, I'm the muscle in this pen. You just stay out of my way.
A delight.
Delightful.
What do you got for us this week, John? What are we recommending?
Oh man, you sprung that on me.
Sorry.
No, you didn't at all. I've been watching quite a bit of the Star Wars Clone Wars series. It's one of these kind of... Did I talk about this before?
Talked about it only to recommend one episode that had the Jesse Ventura impersonator.
Oh, that was Star Wars Rebels. See, that was a different CG Star Wars series. Nerd. But this is a series that I think is 7 seasons long now. Disney just started back up with the last official season of Clone Wars, but this is something that started in the George Lucas days of Star Wars back in 2007, I believe, before he sold it to Disney, several years before he sold it to Disney. He went about creating a series telling the actual story of the Clone Wars that they referred to really briefly a couple times in the original trilogy, and then they show a little bit of in the prequel trilogy, but not really showing any details of, just kind of the formation of the army and then the conclusion of the Clone Wars across 2 movies in the prequels. But this one dives into all the different stories that the different Jedi are experiencing during the Clone Wars, the different clone troopers themselves. And I have to praise this series for just one, how Star Wars everything is, because it's very Star Warsy, but 2, just how no holds barred, just very the Predator merciless this series can be, where they're just wiping out clone troopers and Jedi left and right, these you would think long-lasting characters who are just on it for maybe an episode or 2, and then they're just killed very mercilessly, very unceremoniously, okay, that person's dead now. And you don't necessarily expect that from a CG show that looks kid-friendly, but I would say it is not a kid-friendly show. It's pretty nihilistic at times. We're talking about the realities of war and all the bad that comes with that. So I recommend for something that might be kind of unexpectedly adult-like in nature. That's Star Wars The Clone Wars, and you can find that on Disney+.
There it is. Very nice.
For example, and I'll just point this one out because it really made me think of you. There's one episode where they come across these aliens that are brought back to life with these little slither-like bugs, and so they're basically these unkillable monsters. And of course, the little slither-like bug makes its way into some of the troopers, and they become these undead soldiers that they basically have to blow up in the ship as they flee a battle or something like that. It's very Slither / Night of the Creeps like.
Yeah, I love it. I love a good undead soldier.
Yeah, it was very much in that vein. But
nice.
Speaking of veins, where can people find you, Jeff?
You can find me on the Twitter. All my feeds there. Carl_Hungus 314. Come follow me on the Twitter.
My name is Carl. Ich bin expert.
All right, we'll do that. And you can find Predator Minute on the Twitter at Predator Minute. You can email the show, predatorminute@gmail.com, or you can join the listeners and creators conversation at the Predator Minute Listeners Palapa. Target that center of that palapa.
Target the center of the palapa.
Target's the center of the palapa.
Mac!
Everyone out there, all of our listeners out there, please do pour a little glass of something for Mac tonight, and celebrate our favorite character in style.
Exactly. Come pay her some respects.
Mm-hmm.
In what way you see fit for our fallen Mac Rad. Terrible. And it's been a long time. It's been a while since I pointed out that our opening and closing bumper music is provided by Chaosware. That's KAOSWARE, who I asked way before I even started producing this show if I could use his cover of the Predator theme that he did on the electric guitar. And he said yes. And I'm so grateful for that, to have Chaosware backing us up, backing up the podcast. So
thanks, Chaosware. Awesome.
You can check him out. Check out that video I believe it's called Predator Heavy Metal Cover, something like that. You'll know you're at the right video because in the video he puts some effect on his guitar where he makes the guitar look like it's actively camouflaged, a la the Predator.
Nice.
Yeah. So on that note, heyo. For all things Predator Minute 72, I'm John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And until next time,
stick around.
Stick around.
Gonna carve your name into him.
Gonna cut your name into.
Mac.
Mac?
Mac.
Mac.
When the clock strikes 6:30, babe,
Badass bush.
time to head for
Anytime.
golden light.
Motherfucker.
It's a good time.
It's time for a little painless.
Dinner at